Hey guys, welcome back to a hump day. Hump day? Hump day. You like that
Day.
commercial with the camel?
You know, I
Hump
really,
day.
to be honest, was not a fan of that commercial.
Really?
Yeah.
I found it funny first time I
Yeah,
saw it.
but that didn't surprise me, Bill.
I am impressed with very simple things.
You are impressed with very simple things.
That's true. We're talking this week about shame and guilt. It's been a good conversation so far. Let's talk about the biblical story where shame is maybe highlighted more than any other. Jesus is in the last days of his life in the Passion story, and they're in a public square, and he is being chained and on his way to the cross, and his disciples are near him, and in that moment, Peter denies him 3 times, just like Jesus said to his face that he would, and denied that he even knew him in fear of his own life. And after that, in John 21, the story goes on about Peter went back to fishing. He felt so guilty.
He gave up.
He gave up everything. And that's what shame does to us a lot, is we throw our hands up and say, what the heck? And we act out. I'm so ashamed.
We give up.
I'll never be. I talk about future shame a lot. A lot of times we self-sabotage our own lives because we think we deserve it and we know what's coming in the future. We're ashamed of something that hadn't even happened yet, but we know it will, and we make it happen.
Well, and that's the thing. We invite more shame in when we give ourselves to that sort of attitude.
What do we do? What did Jesus do with Peter in that state?
So let's back up for 1 second and let's look at Peter's life here, and let's consider a couple of things, because Jesus actually dealt with Peter all along the way in this way. When he first found Peter, Peter was fishing, and he called Peter to himself. He called Peter to a relationship. And so they're then having a relationship. And so what Peter's learning through this whole process of discipleship is that he has a relationship with Jesus, that Jesus loves him, that Jesus is with him, and he's finding himself drawn into Jesus' inner circle. He finds himself in some pretty powerful moments. Imagine they're up on the Mount of Transfiguration and all this powerful stuff's happening, so much so that Peter's like,
Let's build a hotel.
Yeah, forget those guys down there. Let's just all stay up here and enjoy this. And, again, Peter doesn't get chastised at that moment, even though what he said was pretty selfish and pretty arrogant. Jesus just says, no, we're going to go back down here because this is where we belong. And then, that intimate moment in the garden where Jesus asks his disciples to come pray, and he takes those that are closest to him, Peter being one of them, and come over here, I need you guys, and all of them fall asleep, and at that moment, Jesus doesn't, heap shame upon their heads. But the reality is this: what Peter's learning from Jesus is that there is a relationship, and it's a relationship that's based upon love and trust and forgiveness. And the other thing Peter's learning is that God's called me. Jesus is calling me to help other people and to be a partner with him in sharing the good news that Jesus brings, and to be a partner with him in helping minister to others. And so you've got this whole backdrop that I don't want us to miss of relationship and love and a call to ministry, and even the fleshing out of that ministry that Peter has experienced. And so this isn't just a casual follower of Jesus. This is someone that has experienced Jesus at his best, at his most close, at his most intimate. And I think it's important to understand that, because we lie to ourselves. We talk about this from time to time, this whole, perfection, all or nothing thinking that we get ourselves trapped into. And we think to ourselves, if I could just be super close to Jesus, if I could be part of Jesus' most inner circle, I wouldn't make these mistakes. But yet, look at Peter. Peter was as close to Jesus as any other person on earth, and yet he found himself failing more often than not. He found himself, imagine the time where Jesus predicted his death, and Peter stood up and said, no, forget away. I will not allow that. You're wrong, Jesus. You're foolish, Jesus, and I'm not. I mean, he's telling the freaking Jesus, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, God himself, and he's telling him, no, you're wrong, bro. It ain't going to go down that way, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't go down that way.
And the opposite happened.
Yeah, but imagine the arrogance of that on one hand.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about, if I could just get closer to Jesus, I wouldn't make these mistakes. No, Peter was close and he still made mistakes. So that's the biggest thing right now today. There's even more about Peter's life that we'll get into tomorrow, but I want us to understand that Peter was just like us, and he experienced a relationship of love and of serving others with Jesus.
Yeah, that's the important thing. He was called to relationship. Even when he was asked to step out of the water, Jesus didn't say, come be a wave walker. He said, come to me.
Yes.
And that's really critical, because I'm going to ask you, you say he didn't heap shame on Peter. I got a question about that.
Okay.
Talk to him tomorrow.